Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever edition of the Pinfalls and Playbooks podcast. I'm your host, Faiz Kabir, alongside my co-host, Fardan Khan. Well, we've been talking about this for a long time, and we're finally getting started to it.
Pretty excited to do it.
So what we're doing right now is a sports and pro wrestling podcast. You want to elaborate more on that?
I guess since we're obviously two brown boys, there's not that many brown boys that do podcasts, So we just want to shed light into the world, bring our best takes, try to see if there's any controversial stuff we could talk about, go from there. Generally speaking, sports and pro wrestling brings people together. We're just trying to get our voices out there, make sure that people understand that this is what we should talk about, what the fans need to talk about,
So one other thing I definitely want to talk about is exactly the reason why we're doing this podcast. One of the main reasons we feel like we're doing this podcast is, as you guys know, there's so many podcasts that are out here, whether it's sports focused, pro wrestling focused, or any kind of. There's so many podcasts out there that we can't even name. One thing that I definitely want to establish in our podcast is we want to give actual real takes where we're not fed by people or we're controlled by people, where it's like based on people's perspectives or opinions.
Right. It's truth versus reality.
Exactly. So truth versus reality, when it comes to that sense, obviously it's still a podcast. It's opinionated. We're not saying our word is fucking gospel or anything.
Yeah.
But we're passionate people, we're creative people, and the thing is we want to get our voices and create an outlet where we can talk to people or express our opinions.
Mm-hmm.
So this podcast is called Pinfalls and Playbooks. Simple as that, the easiest way I could explain it. Wrestling.
Pinfalls, and then
in sports, we got playbooks.
Yeah, for different types of sports. Basketball, football. Baseball, there's not really that much playbooking called, but the other ones, yes.
Exactly. So even when it comes to, like, when the recent event just passed, UFC,
right?
There's a whole playbook to that. You got to have a game plan. A game plan is basically a playbook for wanting to have success.
Understand the fighter, how to approach the fight, go from there.
So basically on this idea, what we're trying to do for the format of this podcast is we're trying to do 30 minutes of pro wrestling and 30 minutes of sports. Quick, easy, get to the straight point.
It'll alternate each week. First we'll start off with sports. Next week we'll start off with wrestling. Go from there.
So one other thing that we really want to talk about that we're really excited about is incorporating what we call the Sideline Heel Report. So basically the Sideline Heel Report is going to be a segment in this podcast where we're going to try to cut into our 30 minutes of wrestling and 30 minutes of sports, where we're going to basically talk about controversial sports takes and submitted questions.
Stay tuned for that, because that's going to be the most exciting thing. Now, one thing to note is that we're going to do this every 2 weeks, right?
Right. So the Sideline Heel Report is not going to be every week segment. It's going to be every other week. So that gives us time where people can send in their questions or anything that we come up with that we feel like that may be controversial to even talk about.
Right.
So that's the whole point of that segment for that podcast. Before we even get started, we want to give a little background story about us when it comes to specifically sports and wrestling. So I'll let Fardan go off and talk about his favorite sports and teams when it comes to sports.
Yeah. So we're from New York, and between the two of us, I'm the only one that supports any of the New York teams. So I'm a New York Jets fan, which kind of sucks because we've endured a lot. We're trying to get up there. We got Justin Fields now, trying to make some noise in the AFC, try to get somewhere, I'm also a diehard New York Yankees fan, as you can tell, because I'm wearing the Yankees shirt. Long story short, it's been tough the last month or so. We haven't really produced as much as we thought. There's a lot of flaws in the offense, a lot of flaws in the pitching. Hopefully we could get our shit together, try to make some noise again, head back to the World Series like we did last year. Now, when it comes to hockey, it's going to sound a little weird, but I'm a St. Louis Blues fan. The reason being is because I first started watching hockey in like 2014 or so. The one name I kept hearing at the time was Vladimir Tarasenko. And from there, I just became a St. Louis Blues fan. Thankfully, we won the title in 2019. So it's been tough the last couple of years. We did make the playoffs a few times, but other than that, I think we're pretty solid moving forward. Now, here's the part where everybody's going to be like, what the hell? I am a diehard Boston Celtics fan.
See, yes. I'm from New York, and I don't even understand that.
You guys heard that right. I'm a Boston Celtics fan. Thankfully, we won the title last year. It was a very disappointing season this year, especially with the Tatum injury. Now, if you're going to ask me why I'm a Boston Celtics fan living in New York, the simple truth is this. I started watching basketball in about 2004, 2005. Believe it or not, when NBA 2K4 came out, there was a mode where you can play as different characters in the street ball. And they gave you options, and one of the options was Paul Pierce. I fell in love with Paul Pierce right then and there. Another name was Kevin Garnett. Now, here's the thing. Kevin Garnett was on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Eventually, he got traded over to Boston. And based off of that, he became my favorite player alongside Paul Pierce. And as a result, I just collectively became a Boston Celtics fan. And it's been, 21 years now? So going strong. Saw 2,000 in my lifetime. I'm happy. And if you're going to tell me otherwise, go fuck yourself.
So for me, I can kind of piggyback off that. I am from New York, but simple as that, I grew up as a New England Patriots fan. And
Crazy.
It is what it is. It's simple what a lot of people it is. It's probably with a lot of kids. When you grow up,
you have to start somewhere.
You have to start somewhere, and when you start somewhere, you usually go towards people that are winning. And
Right.
you want to see people towards winning. So I started watching the Patriots back in 2007 when they were on their incredible season run. They were 16-0 going into the Super Bowl, and they lost to the New York Giants. So
that was a tough watch.
For example, New England Patriots, we went through a lot. We obviously went through our Tom Brady phase. Tom Brady went on to go do bigger and better things. Obviously, looks like he proved that Bill Belichick was the problem. And
For sure.
so now what it looks like is, for our future, we got our new quarterback, generational probably quarterback, Drake May. Drake May is looking extremely promising in his first rookie year. We're very excited for him. And now we actually got a coach. We went through a little testing phase with Gerard Mayo. And my scenario is pretty much the reason is they gave Gerard Mayo a testing phase to see what he can do.
With the team, yeah.
And it seemed like there was promising things. The guys did look promising. It's just Gerard Mayo wasn't that guy.
He wasn't, yeah.
And now
he wasn't a player's coach. He just was there just for the idea of the Patriots from what they once were with Bill Belichick, especially bringing in the old players,
And now we got someone who also is part of that old regime, but this is an established coach who's already won.
Yep.
He's gotten to the playoffs. He's won a playoff game. We're talking about Mike Vrabel.
No.
Mike Vrabel, a lot of players love him. He is a literal player's coach.
He's the definition of a player.
Who knows what he's talking about when it comes to his team. So what it looked like this offseason is the Patriots rallied behind Mike Vrabel, gave him what he wanted and asked for with a slew of picks, with a slew of signings. And
they
now,
gave him the keys to the franchise.
And keys to the franchise, exactly. And now with Drake May at the helm, it's looking very promising again. So now we're going to go towards, here's another team, the Dallas Mavericks. So
I can't blame you for that.
I'll tell you one thing right now. I am not one of these new Dallas Maverick fans. I've been a Dallas Maverick fan in 2010 when they had Dirk Nowitzki playing. So Dirk Nowitzki was my favorite player growing up. I loved the way he played, big man, shooting the ball, fadeaway threes. I just loved his type of game.
Everybody loved that Dirk touch,
And crazy thing is, Dirk Nowitzki brought this type of play style now where it's being everywhere. Imagine Dirk Nowitzki in today's league. He'd probably average 30 easily because Dirk Nowitzki was a 7-foot shooter. Nobody could block a shot ever. So that's why the Dallas Mavericks are always my favorite team. I don't want to go into the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic situation right now. I have a lot to say of that.
That's for later on. We'll get to that.
Most likely that will be on next week's show during the Sideline Heel Report. But another thing I quickly want to touch on, because I do want to save this for the end, Cooper Flag. That's all I'm going to say. And now we're going to move on.
He's a Flagatron.
So the next thing I want to talk about is when it comes to baseball, I'm not the biggest baseball fan. I like watching baseball. But when it comes to baseball, I'm not like him where I watch 24/7. It's just not for me. I can watch a few innings, and after that, I get my little fix and I pass on. For some reason, I'll give you guys the honest answer. I am a San Diego Padres fan, and it's not because they're really good this season or anything like that. I did like Fernando Tatis at the time, and I did like Juan Soto, who was a former
We'll get
Padre.
to that. That's going to be my sideline hill when we get to it.
And it's simple as that. I like the Padres back maybe I really didn't start watching baseball until 2015, 2016. And that was because I just really like the Padres colors. They do have some fire uniforms.
Yeah, it's one of the best uniforms in the league for sure.
And when it comes to other sports, I'm going to quickly touch on a sport that I really love, and that's tennis. So I'm going to talk about my favorite tennis player right now, and that is the number one player probably in the world, is Carlos Alcaraz. Carlos Alcaraz is absolutely a monster on the court. He is going to be probably in the highest ranks, probably with Novak Djokovic.
Probably end up being the GOAT one day eventually.
Exactly.
Passes Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, all of these guys.
And that is my main four that I love to talk about. There's obviously so many more sports that we're going to dig into, but for now, those are established our favorite teams and sports.
Now we're going to talk about the second aspect of our podcast, which is wrestling. Now we're going to establish our favorite wrestlers. I started watching wrestling in about 2003, and the reason why I started watching is because my brother, my uncle, and my dad, they used to put it on all the time on TV, and eventually I picked it up. And my first wrestling memory was seeing Undertaker doing his American Badass persona, seeing him come and doing the rolling, you know?
Keep rolling.
Eventually, I just picked it up from there. I want to tell you my top 5 favorite wrestlers. Now, here's the thing. Me and Fayaz, we can agree on 2 of our favorite wrestlers. 1, The Undertaker, which I just mentioned. And 2, John Cena, because as noted, he is probably the greatest of all time.
Maybe.
With that being said, I feel like there's some truth to that statement simply because he just broke Ric Flair's record. But we all know why he wanted to do it, why he wanted to come back. But that's neither here nor there. My other 3 top wrestlers are Randy Orton, because he's a 15-time champion. He's gunning for that 16. I don't know if he's going to get to 17, but he's going to eventually get there. He's going to fight somebody and get another title shot eventually. Triple H, because 1, when he was part of D-Generation X, it was such a vibe watching him and Shawn Michaels, Road Dogg, all of these guys. And finally, Roman Reigns, because why not? He's the tribal chief. I acknowledge him, and he's just amazing. His early stages definitely needed some work. Obviously, Vince McMahon was in charge, you know. When he got rid of that big dog face and became the tribal chief is when we realized that, this is Roman Reigns. He has the potential to be arguably the best of all time. And in fact, he definitely has proven that. So I'm going to turn to Faz. He's going to tell you his other 3.
So picking on back off of Farden, I want to talk about exactly when I first started watching wrestling. So I started watching wrestling a little around 2007. So as you can tell, that's basically the time where I started growing up. I started watching sports around that time and pro wrestling. Those 2 go hand in hand for me.
If you guys haven't figured it out, I'm older, but
Exactly. So for me, my first ever memory was watching Friday Night SmackDown. I remember in my grandpa's room, my grandpa had it on, and me and my sister, we started watching wrestling. And the first memory we had was 2007, The Undertaker was in a feud with Mr. Kennedy at that time.
Kennedy!
And Mr. Kennedy, he's great. I love Mr. Kennedy, but his story is a whole different thing. But The Undertaker at that time definitely caught my eye because it was who is this mysterious character?
He always catches everybody's eyes.
Catches everybody's
take
eyes.
Off his hat, did the eye roll back. Oh,
exactly.
Man.
And the dark purple ambience and lighting and him just basically haunting Mr. Kennedy.
He was the original aura guy before Roman Reigns came out. For sure.
Right. Well, he is definitely in my top 5. So for me, I'm going to rate mine. And my favorite from 1 to 5 is simple. So number 1, Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is arguably probably the greatest ring performer ever. He can go into the ring with anyone and not even have a bad match with anybody. That's why Shawn Michaels is my favorite wrestler of all time, because he's a little guy. Anybody can also feel like you don't got to be super jacked and be technically sound. You look at Shawn Michaels, he didn't care about that stuff. He was a perfectionist at being a technical wrestler. And my second is The Undertaker. And you're looking at my shirt that I'm wearing right now, Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, WrestleMania 25.
Probably the greatest match of all time.
Definitely, probably the greatest WrestleMania match.
Oh, yeah.
But it is up there in the upper echelon of the greatest matches of all time. Number 3 is probably a newer age, but for me, I've been watching him since before WWE. And that is Kevin Owens, who was also known as Kevin Steen. Kevin Owens can play any role that you need him to. He can play a good guy, and he's not ever going to be really a good guy because he's always has some heelish tactics to him, but people love him.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens can be the most douchebag heel there is.
Everybody will still love him.
And also, one thing I love about Kevin Owens, he's just straight comedy.
Yeah.
If you actually watch Kevin Owens' mannerisms and whatever the hell he does, he's just hilarious at everything he does. And Kevin Owens, he puts on solid matches. I can't really think of ever a Kevin Owens bad match. And honestly, if it is a bad match, I definitely know it's not Kevin Owens.
Yeah, it's going to be the other person for sure.
And number 4 is going to be a little bit outsider pick. So I watch more of wrestling that is not just straight WWE. I like to expand my broadened horizons by watching AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling. So back in 2014, I started watching New Japan Wrestling because I was like, oh, this is dope. This is stronger hitting and hard style wrestling. At that time, I started falling in love with Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega is probably one of the greatest wrestlers of all time that is never going to be in WWE. And that's just because that's how he wanted to be.
Right.
He just didn't want to work that full-time schedule. And more to him, because if you don't want to put your body at that risk and don't want to work that full-time schedule and still be a top performer in this industry, Kenny Omega will always deliver a great match. He has so many more matches that are still coming up that's going to be great. And that's why I believe Kenny Omega is definitely one of the greatest of all time and in my top 5. And lastly, like we agreed, John Cena. John Cena, 2007. That's when I started watching him. He was the main guy. John Cena's been the main guy for the last 25 years, probably.
Pretty much.
As soon as he comes to whatever show, he's going to be on that main event. If he's not ending the show, he's starting that show. John Cena is a main attraction, and that's why no matter what...
The original box office guy.
The original box office guy. That's why I love watching John Cena, no matter what it is. Or whatever thing he's doing. Even honestly, I'm so much of a fan of him where... Even when he's doing his outside projects, I still want to look at it, whether it's movies or whatever it is.
Still a great actor, too.
He's a great actor. And as you can tell, from our list of the top 5, it's more new generation. And that's because we just didn't grow up during the time of the Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Ric Flair. These are guys that people obviously assume are one of the greatest of all time, where we acknowledge that, but it's just not in our top 5 because we didn't grow up seeing them.
Yeah, for sure.
And one other thing I want to touch on is what we're going to save at the end, and most likely we're going to save at the end of every show, is we're going to hit you guys with our favorite moment / thing we saw
this week,
whether it's in sports, whether it's in wrestling, or even, honestly, if it's anything we saw this week. Whatever we want to talk about, that's going to be the end of our segment.
So our first segment this week is going to be, we're going to talk about whatever happened in sports. Obviously, the main thing that happened this week, or I would say within the last, 10 days or so, the Oklahoma City Thunder won the championship. Great for them. It's their first title, I think, right?
It's their first title.
There's a very young core. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander proved that he's probably the best player in the NBA. That's debatable. There's obviously Jokic. There's obviously Doncic. There's obviously Giannis. But that's a conversation for another time. Congrats to them. I'm happy for them, although I feel like they might be a little bit of a free throw merchant team. But at the end of the day, they got the job done. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was definitely skeptical about the OKC Thunder going into the playoffs, I was like, these guys are a young team. I know everybody says that every year, but they definitely proved us wrong because they were winning each series.
They were hungry.
They were hungry, and they were winning each series in a dominant fashion.
Right.
I don't think they really did not let any game go to a Game 7 besides the finals, and that's because it's the finals. Everybody plays their hardest. Everyone's trying to put their heart out on the court. They
played well on the offensive end. They were great on the defensive end. They had a hell of a coach, and ultimately, they just got the job done.
And specifically, I want to touch on SGA. SGA, what an improvement over the last few years we've seen him. Started off as just basically a defensive guy.
And in Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles. After that trade for Paul George, look how that turned out. SGA just started learning with Chris Paul.
Yep.
And after that, just elevated his game to a next level. And I'm happy for him. He's a good player. He knows what he's doing. He has a great team, probably a great upside, and definitely a great future ahead of him. He was one of the first people in the few years to ever win Finals MVP, regular season MVP.
And the championship. Basically, Finals MVP basically dictates that he won the championship.
Right.
To piggyback off what he said, I want to bring up Jalen Williams. Let me tell you something about Jalen Williams. He's probably going to be, hands down, one of the best two-way players of all time. If he stays healthy, if he's coached right, he's going to be a problem in this league. And I guess you could probably say that they're probably the best backcourt duo in the league for now.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody else dethroning them for a while, and it's good for that team, Another thing that we want to touch on, Tyrese Halliburton. So unfortunate what happened to him. He played through a calf strain. Ultimately, his Achilles let him down. We hope for the best for him. We want to see him back. It's crazy how they voted him the most overrated player in the league.
I want to talk about that real quick. So I don't understand where that voting came from, where that poll came from, and the reason is because Tyrese Halliburton, he's been good since he came into the league, honestly.
When he was on the Kings.
When he was on the Kings, he was a great player, and at that time, the Kings had a problem. They didn't want to play De'Aaron Fox, and they didn't want to play Tyrese Halliburton together because their flows are not going to flow together.
Right.
So what the Kings made is they traded for Sabonis, which I guess kind of worked out for them, but Indiana picked up a player that had so much potential, and now we're seeing that on a stage where everyone can see it.
I just want to ask one thing. To all the people that voted him the overrated, what is in your definition of overrated? Because he was showing out from the first round against the Bucks to the second round against the Cavs, and even against the Knicks. it was a crazy series for them.
Right.
Like, you got to really, I guess, reevaluate the definition of overrated, because he definitely proved you guys wrong, and definitely probably top 10 player right now if he's healthy.
If he's healthy, yeah, I could put him at probably the lower 10,
Yeah.
but he is a great eccentric player that controls the game, controls it at his own pace, and when you have someone like that on your team, watch out, because they'll flow and they'll construct that
Good
offense
shooter,
the way they want.
good facilitator, good team player, no off court drama, nothing.
But,
just overall great player.
Yep, but obviously we want to wish him a speedy recovery and hope he comes back from whatever happened to him, because there's been a lot that happened, ACL injuries this offseason.
What do you think the main priority for the Pacers is going to be in the offseason to reload?
I think the main priority's got to be for them to keep that core together, build and keep building role players. I think one of the things they got Ben
They probably
Shepherd.
have the best role players in the league.
Right. One thing I definitely want them to improve on is a backup shooting guard.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Shepherd is not going to cut it for you. He's not. I like Ben Shepherd. He may be like a ninth man, honestly. But I would say it looks like recently we just found out Jordan Clarkson's on the market.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bucket getter right there.
Yep.
Go get Jordan Clarkson and have him start that offense with Halliburton out for now. Another thing we want to talk about this week that recently happened is the NBA draft. So this NBA draft was solely based around one player, and that is the lottery for Cooper Flag. Now, the Dallas Mavericks, they made that trade for Luka Doncic to get out of here because of overweight reasons, whatever the hell Nico Harrison wanted to justify that as. I'll leave that up to the management. Let's see how it plays out. But everyone's saying it's rigged, this lottery. I don't know how truth that is to it, but Nico Harrison, it may look like in the right direction, but we'll find out. And the Dallas Mavericks got the first pick with a 2.8% chance to get that first pick.
There's some controversy behind that, but
definitely
neither here nor there.
And we've picked up Cooper Flag. Now, Cooper Flag, coming out of high school, ever since he was a freshman in high school, everyone was like, this guy's next.
No.
He's the next
Generational talent.
He's the next generational talent. He's the next white boy savior ever since Larry Bird. Cooper Flag is an athletic power forward that has guard handles, that has shooting ability and size to him, and even he can slam it on you.
And on top of that, he's going to go into a team that has one of the best big men in the league in Anthony Davis. When he's healthy, one of the best point guards in the league in Kyrie Irving, a Hall of Fame coach in Jason Kidd, and so many great role players. Watch out for the Dallas Mavericks next season,
and
I'm telling you.
One thing I'm really happy about is Cooper Flag is around a team and a core where these guys, they have veterans.
They're all winners.
And they have young guys on them. So everyone knows what they can contribute to them, and everybody knows what Cooper Flag can do on this team. The potential is unlimited, and we'll find out how when the summer league starts and how the NBA season starts when it comes to Cooper Flag. And now I'll let Fardin go on his little mini rant. Now we won't go too much into it, but we'll let him talk about what the hell the Celtics have been doing since Jason Tatum's injury.
All right, so obviously it was unfortunate. We lost the 6 games against the Knicks. Granted, we should have won the series. But obviously, most people are going to look at me like, oh, you guys lost. But think about it this way. First 2 games in the Eastern Conference second round, we had 20-point leads, and Boston just kept shooting threes. Let me tell you guys something about this guy, Joe Mazzulla. I can't stand his style of coaching, to be honest with you. Yeah, we won the title last season. It was all great. But we were in prime position to go back-to-back this year. But obviously, the Celtics offense relies heavily around three-point shooting. And once that terminology of live or die by the 3. We died by the 3.
So I want to touch quickly on that Joe Mazzulla thing. Joe Mazzulla might be one of the most pettiest coaches I've ever seen.
Oh, man. I can't stand this guy.
Like, obviously, he knew all playoffs long what people in the sports media was telling him. Like, dude, change your game plan. Stop making them shoot threes. Joe Mazzulla basically said, he was like, we're going to keep doing whatever the hell we want.
And look what happens.
And we're going to keep shooting threes. And that's what happens when you get bounced out by the surprising New York Knicks.
Right. So we had 20-point leads and couldn't capitalize game 2. Great effort by the Knicks to come back. They eventually won the series. But they lost. I'm happy about that. That's neither here nor there. We transitioned into the offseason. Obviously, Jason Tatum suffered an Achilles injury similar to Tyrese Halliburton. He's probably not going to come back. If he, I guess, rehabs it right, we might see him in March, early April. Hopefully we're in playoff position around then. I don't see the team being a top 3 seed this year. Unless somehow they end up revamping the whole team. Obviously, they just traded Drew Holiday to the Trailblazers. We got Anthony Simons' return. First of all, the Trailblazers GM traded one of their core pieces for a 37-year-old Drew Holiday. Make it make sense, because that's like trading a bag of Skittles. That's like the SpongeBob segment where the Flying Dutchman asked Mr. Krabs, like, yo, how much money in my pocket would you want? And then Mr. Krabs was like, how much do you got? He said, what, 67 cents?
Something
That's
that.
basically this trade in a nutshell. Now, another trade that obviously happened was Kristaps Porzingis to the Hawks. It was a 3-team trade. We got Georges Niang. Like,
I think Georges Niang is horrible, and he has such a big fucking mouth on him.
Yeah, the only thing that he's got going for him, which fits well with the team, is a 3-point shot. But bro, he's a terrible defender.
Yeah.
You got Karl Anthony Towns on the Knicks. You have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley on the Cavs. You got Giannis. Eventually, he's probably gonna go somewhere. Who knows where he's
and
gonna go?
Don't forget, you got the young guns and Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, who's gonna be coming.
And they just got Desmond Bane, right?
Yeah.
So my question is now, which I'll follow by what the Celtics should do in the offseason, right? The Trailblazers actually just got rid of DeAndre Ayton. I think they should make a move for that. We have no big man. Al Horford's a dinosaur. He's going to retire soon. Luke Cornett is just, listen, he's a great backup center, but he's not a starting center. So, one, they should get DeAndre Ayton. 2, they got to somehow solidify a point guard situation, because Anthony Simons, he's a shooting guard. He's not really a point guard. He's not really a facilitator. Yeah. He's a great offensive player. Might need some work on the defense, but that's what the coaching staff is for. They could build off of that. Who I think they should get? Man, I don't know. There's not really a lot of options. Everybody's like long-term with whatever team they're already on. I had an idea for them to somehow get Trae Young, but I don't think he's going anywhere. But other than that, they got to retool on the center end. They obviously got to wait for Tatum to come back. So they still have Peyton Pritchard, but he's got to come off the bench. Otherwise, there's going to be no bench production. And I just feel like overall they should just look at those two things, the point guard situation and as well as the center situation. So, yeah, hopefully we somehow are in the playoff running until Tatum comes back, and then we'll go from there.
And quickly, I want to touch on one of the last things of this week in NBA specifically is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo is arguably probably one of the greatest players in this last decade. And Giannis Antetokounmpo, there's a huge high sweepstakes for him. Wherever he decides to go,
instant title contender.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, like he said, what he's aiming for is a bigger market. He wants to be in a market where he's going to feel valued and he feels like he's going to be the star of the show. We don't know exactly where his mind's at, especially with Damian Lillard, who also went out with an Achilles injury, but it sucks because he really wanted that to work. But I feel bad for Giannis because I don't really think he's that type of person to just get out of there. He really wanted to work.
He's really unhappy.
And if you're really unhappy, do whatever makes you happy. And whatever that might be.
Best, yep.
It could be the New York Knicks. It could be Miami Heat. I don't think he's going to go to the West.
There's too much competition on the West.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no way where he would go to the West when you could go to the East and with it being so wide open, you could easily make the finals if you go to a contending team.
For sure.
So we'll see what happens with Giannis Antetokounmpo, and that kind of summarizes our week in the NBA.
Now we're going to talk about UFC. We just obviously had one of the best cards of the year, UFC 317, International Fight Week, topped off by Charles Oliveira getting knocked out by Ilia Topuria. Now, I'm a big Charles fan, and it was tough to see him get knocked out in the first round like that. It was embarrassing. I'm not going to lie to you. This guy, Ilia Topuria, he's next up. Don't be surprised. Right. Don't be surprised in his next few fights where Bruce Buffer introduces him as the one, the only, because he's getting there.
I love Ilia Topuria. I love his cockiness. I love his smug. He fucking backs it up. Ilia Topuria has knocked out 3 Hall of Famers in a row. And he does not give a shit. He will go on to the next person and knock him out too. He's so confident and he's so good at his skills. If you watch Ilia Topuria from his first fight in the UFC to now, it's completely different.
Next generation.
Everything, all his ground game, his strikes, everything, they're so crisp and sharp. You got to be careful for that lightweight. But Ilia Topuria, very exciting fight. We also had some other fights on the card, and quickly we want to touch on main 3. I guess we want to touch on
Alexandre Pantoja. Now, here's the thing. I love Pantoja, but there's really nothing left for him to establish in the flyweight division.
The flyweight,
Flyweight, like, he's got to go up to bantamweight. I would love to see him fight Merab. He would be an instant title threat to Merab. He has the ground game. He has the power. Will he do it? I don't know. It's up to Pantoja, to be honest.
one thing I want to touch on in the opponent, Kai Kara France. I'm not the biggest on Kai Kara France, honestly.
He's a good fighter, but he just doesn't stand up to a chance.
I think he's all right. Yeah. I don't think he's even in the top level of the flyweights. That's why he's ranked where he's ranked. I think there's other flyweights that are better than him, but Kai Kara France got his second chance at this title. I don't see it happening anytime again with Kai Kara France, so that's him on that. When it comes to Pantoja, my take on Pantoja, probably one of the elitist ground games there is in the UFC at age, I think he's in his mid-30s right now.
Yep. So not a lot of time left. So.
Not a lot of time left for Pantoja, but Pantoja, if he wants to make that jump to bantamweight, it's either now or never. Mm-hmm. And if he decides never, then he could stay in that flyweight division and try to catch Demetrius Johnson, who is pretty much considered the greatest in that division. Yep. But Pantoja, with the way he's going and the rate he's going,
he's not losing the title anytime soon.
He could definitely get to that level. And lastly, I want to talk about the fight of the night, which is Brandon Royval and Joshua Van.
This guy Joshua Van fought 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago.
And he's fighting the number one contender in the division, and he took him pound for pound, like rocking and socking, basically. Dude. That probably was the best fight of the year.
That might have been the best fight of the year.
Thus far.
The amount of strikes, the amount of hard hits, though, both of those guys.
It was no ground game or anything. It was just straight fist fights.
Right.
You know?
And Brandon Royval, props to him, a number one ranked fighter who actually cleared everyone in the top 5, actually.
Pretty much, yeah.
And he was like, you know what, let me take on this kid. What was he, the 12th rank?
Yeah, and he's 23 years old.
23 years old. Kid. He's the only fighter from Burmese.
Oh, yeah.
And Joshua Van came in there. He put on a show. Royval put on a show. I believe Dana said both of them got fighter performance bonuses, even though usually it goes to the winner.
Yeah, but they deserved it.
But they both deserved it.
Definitely deserved it.
And good for Royval. I think, honestly, maybe Royval loses a little bit credibility, but it was such a good and close fight that when you got a guy and an enigma like Joshua Van, who's been on a run, who knows how good he can be, and it looks like he's a really good fighter.
You think he's going to fight Pantoja?
And I think he's going to jump the line and get that title fight with Alexandre Pantoja whenever they can do it, maybe end of the year or maybe beginning of the next year. So that's another fight that I'm excited to see. And that kind of wraps up our part on the UFC 317. We have another card coming up in a few weeks.
This is going to be the Dustin Poirier retirement fight against Max Holloway for the BMS belt. We'll talk about that as the podcast episodes progress. Obviously, there's still another couple of weeks before that happens.
But yeah, the UFC is looking great this year. The cards are looking great, and we're excited to see how it plays out.
So as I said before, I'm a diehard Yankees fan. I watch the Yankees more than any other team, meaning like my top 5 teams, the Celtics, the Jets, and the Blues. The Jets, I watch them week to week. That's only literally 5 months a year. The Yankees, it's pretty much every day consistently for 6 months if they make the MLB postseason. Now, like I touched on earlier, the team hasn't really performed well. Simply put, the Bronx Bombers have not been bombed. In hindsight, they're like the Celtics because they live or die by the home runs. If they're not hitting home runs, they're probably not going to win games. They just beat the Athletics 3-0 without hitting a home run, I believe. And it was a tough watch because we're used to Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, who just came back. I know he's going to get into a groove. And once we see postseason Stanton, it's a marvelous watch to see it. Cody Bellinger has been performing really well. Trent Grisham's been okay, but he needs to get off the leadoff spot, in my opinion. We need to start Jazz Chisholm at the 1, especially since he came back and he's been performing really well. He hit I think 9 home runs in his ever since he came back from the injured list. So I just feel like the team needs to revamp the lineup. Aaron Boone, I don't know, man. I have no faith in Aaron Boone anymore.
The Boone Goon.
Oh man, whatever lineups he'd be putting out there, it doesn't make sense sometimes. Obviously, I'm not managing the team, so I can't say like, yo, you got to do this, you got to do that. But I feel like Jazz Chisholm needs to lead off. You need to put either Belly, Paul Goldschmidt, maybe Grisham, depending on if there's a right-handed pitcher in the second, and have Judge be the third man out, followed by whoever it wants to be, whether that's Giancarlo Stanton. Now, my biggest thing as a Yankee fan right now is going to be Austin Wells and Anthony Volpe. Now,
two young guys,
yeah. They definitely have some room to improve. Not even a lot. They have a shit ton to improve on.
Volpe's really good. He has a
lot of upside, but the thing is, I think he needs to change up his batting stance, 1. And 2, he needs to see the ball better because he's just swinging that sweet nothing. Yeah. Same thing with Austin Wells. He needs another batting stance because he's just gunning for every pitch that he sees and he's not hitting it out. I understand pitching over the last, I would say, 15 years or so, definitely evolved. It's been tougher to hit. I get that. But if you're not making any changes to your game, chances are you're not going to hit the ball. And both of them have not done anything to, I guess, change up their aspects when they're on the batting aspect of things, because they're both good on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Anthony Volpe won a Gold Glove in his rookie year. He has that potential. Obviously, the main question is he going to be the next Jeter? Nobody's going to be the next Jeter. You're going to be the next you. So maybe 10 years down the line, we could be like, yo, he's the one and only Anthony Volpe, or he's the one and only Austin Wells, because he's not going to mimic what Jorge Posada did, you know? Obviously, we lost Garrett Cole in the offseason because of Tommy John.
Yeah, we'll see how the Yankees get hit with pitching when it comes to the postseason, because that's what honestly killed them last year.
Right.
So pitching is going to be
They need to make some deals during the trade deadline. They should get another offensive piece, because their third base, I think they should move Jazz Chisholm back to second base and somehow trade for a third baseman, whether that's Nolan Arenado or Ryan McMahon, somebody that's available will come in and be an offensive producer, but also be a good third baseman for them.
Right.
Next thing we want to talk about, at least I want to talk about, is the New York Mets. Now, as a glorified Yankee fan, I'm not a fan of the Mets as a team right now. They've been struggling.
Great stadium, though.
Great stadium, great food, great atmosphere.
Definitely one of the best stadiums in the MLB.
I think it's definitely better to be at Citi Field versus Yankee Stadium. And I'm not saying that because it's just overall better vibes at Citi Field.
Well, it is kind of new compared to
they both came out at the same year, but it's just Citi Field has more amenities that cater to the people. And Yankee Stadium and the Yankees organization.
Well, because back then the Mets were like garbage. And like, all right, you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna just try to cater towards the fans. Right. The diehard fans, make their experience good, but now they've been really good.
Right. But as far as the team standpoint, same as the Yankees, they've been inconsistent for the last month or so. Soto's been getting hot. I'll talk about some more Soto on my sideline here when we get to it next week. But they just got swept by the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pirates. Paul Skeens didn't even pitch for them.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Are you kidding me? They've lost I think 11 out of their last 14. They've been slumping, if not harder than the Yankees, and they need to make some moves on the pitching end. Griffin Canning just went out with an Achilles injury. Clay Holmes been all right. Kodai Senga's been all right. Patrick Blackboard's been a bum. They need to get rid of him. They need to get somebody else that'll be good. And hopefully, we'll end up seeing a Subway World Series in the
we hope. That would be insane.
Especially for New York, it would be crazy.
And then lastly, we want to touch on early World Series predictions and award predictions. For me, like I said from the beginning, not the biggest baseball fan. Don't know that much.
Padres got a chance to make it.
Padres have been looking good. They have been looking good. They probably have a chance to make it if Fernando Tatis and all the other guys play.
Jackson Merrill.
And they all play great. We do have a good pitching squad.
They need to get back to a lot of pieces. Though.
That's the thing. They are pretty
Darvish
injured.
is unhealthy. Yeah. Joe Musgrove's been MIA.
Right.
They lost Blake Snell in the offseason.
Exactly. So Padres, I don't know. I'm not sure if they're going to be ready for it yet, but what I do like seeing is the Diamondbacks. Hopefully the Diamondbacks can get back to where they were looking like. No. I think they're looking really good.
They did just lose Corbin Burns for the season. That's
Corbin Burns is... And I love Corbin Burns. I love watching him when he was in his rookie year. He was such a great player. And Corbin Burns, very exciting player. Maybe he might not even stay with the Diamondbacks in the future. Honestly, he seems like a perfect fit for the Yankees. He just screams a Yankee player.
I'm tight that they didn't I understand they just got Max Fried, and Max Fried is probably a Cy Young contender if it were for Tarek Skubal in the AL East.
Right.
But he's been producing as an ace. And if George Steinbrenner was still alive, he would have gotten Corbin Burns.
he would have screwed out the bank for him.
He would have thrown out every single Brinks truck there is and gave it to Corbin Burns.
Exactly.
But I don't know what Hal Steinbrenner's doing, but that's neither here. But what would be your World Series prediction right now?
So for me right now, what I'm looking at is I think it could be the Yankees if they do get their shit together versus...
You could be biased. You could say the Padres because
I don't think it's
the Padres.
See, I like the Padres, but I'd be shocked if the Padres make it.
Gotta watch out for the Dodgers.
But that's what I'm gonna say. I think it might be a rematch. I think it might be a World Series rematch, and I think it's gonna be tough. I don't know. The Dodgers embarrassed the Yankees last year.
It was a tough watch for sure.
For now, it looks like the Dodgers are gonna get better as well.
Especially with all the pitchers coming back. Tyler Glasnow, Blake Snell.
Especially with the Dodgers incorporating Shohei now. Yep. Shohei's been he's
they still have Yamamoto.
He's just such a machine where Shohei, the more reps he get, the better he's gonna get. He was grown in a Japanese lab. That's where Shohei Ohtani was grown.
He just threw 3 straight 100 pitches the other day with a bad elbow. Maybe he'll get better. I don't know. We'll see how it goes from there.
So that's going to be mine. I think it's going to be I think they're going to run it back. And when it comes to the winner, honestly, with all the money and all the things that they spent, I think the Dodgers are going to repeat.
They're probably going to go back. They might end up winning the next few championships, to be honest with you. But in my opinion, if I'm going to be honest with you, if they get their shit together, I think it's going to be the Yankees out of the AL.
Right.
And if they get their shit together, the Philadelphia Phillies. Because Bryce Harper's been out. Kyle Schwarber's still there.
Yeah.
Trey Turner's still there. JT Realmuto's still there. Nick Castellaно's still there. They just got to get it done. They have the pitching. They have Zach Wheeler. They have Ranger Suarez. They have Christopher Sanchez. They could do it. Yeah. And I think they could dethrone the Dodgers. If they're healthy, Yankees and Phillies in the World Series this year. Book it.
New York versus Philadelphia. That's another crazy little show.
Man, that would be.
You got New York and Boston, but dude, New York and Philly, they're also up there.
Especially with the Mets and Phillies, especially from last year.
Oh yeah.
New York Yankees and the Philadelphia Phillies World Series, it would feed families for sure.
And lastly, we want to touch on quickly is award predictions. We'll just try to touch on the main two. MVP and Cy Young,
okay.
right?
NL MVP, probably going to be Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
I don't see anybody.
I agree. Shohei.
Now AL is interesting because Aaron Judge has been he hasn't been really great the last few weeks.
Right.
But he's still Aaron Judge. He has the highest batting average, most hits, highest OPS, best slugging percentage, pretty much in every statistical category other than home runs. But my second vote would be Cal Raleigh. This guy, the big dumper, he's the real deal.
Dumper? That's what they call him?
That's just the big dumper. Yeah. He has the most home runs in the league. Granted, his team hasn't performed really well. The Mariners have really good players, but they just haven't been consistent. And I think that's going to be the downfall, and Aaron Judge is going to end up winning his 4th MVP. So that's going to be my Shohei and Aaron back-to-back years. And I don't think that hasn't been done in a long time.
I don't think so. Yeah. So I agree with Shohei for the AL. It could be Judge. It could be also Ronald Acuna if he steps up.
Ronald Acuna's in the NL.
Oh, I'm sorry. Not Ronald Acuna. What's his name? He's on Detroit. On the Tigers.
Schoolball, the pitcher?
Yeah. What if a pitcher wins
he
MVP?
Could, this guy.
That's what I meant. Sorry. So I meant a pitcher could possibly win MVP with the way that he's been going. Yeah. And a Cy Young.
Yeah, he's the best pitcher in the league for sure. I don't want to hear nothing about Paul Skeens. It's Tarek Schoolball. He's got everything. He's got the power. He's got the different types of off-speed pitches, and he's leading the best team in the AL right now. The Tigers have the best record.
Yep.
So it kind of would make sense for Tarek Schoolball to win the Cy Young, 1, which he will, and 2, possibly the MVP if he continues to play well.
Yeah. So I think we're both in agreement on there. The Cy Young winner is going to be Tarek Schoolball.
Yeah.
All right. So and that pretty much summarizes our week in the MLB. So let's move on to
transition to the NFL.
To the NFL, probably both our favorite sport going into the off season. So let's start off with the NFL. We'll talk about one of the main things and one of the main stories was the mystery of Aaron Rodgers.
Now, this was a mystery for the last 2-3 years, especially when he came to the Jets. Now he's on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, here's the thing. As a Jet fan, we could have done it, man.
Oh, God.
We could have.
I can't with these delusional Jet fans, man.
I'm going to say this. If the offensive line was healthy, year 1 with Aaron Rodgers, if he didn't go down with an Achilles injury, I'm not saying we could have beat the Chiefs,
dude,
but we could have made the AFC Championship. Dude. We had elite defenses. We had good offensive players, but that's neither here nor there. Now he's in Pittsburgh. Obviously, the main thing about Pittsburgh is Mike Tomlin. He's probably one of the best coaches in the NFL right now. Good for him to have him.
I got something to say on Mike Tomlin. I think he's a little overrated.
What?
I think Mike Tomlin's a little overrated.
Bro, he had nobody the last couple of years, and they still had a 500 record.
And they lose every first playoff game.
That's true, too.
Mike Tomlin, yes, he's probably, the longest tenured coach right now with one team right now. I like Mike Tomlin. I know for sure he's a player's coach. He's definitely a player's coach, but he's not a strategic coach.
But he has no quarterback, though. Bro, they had Russell Wilson.
Also, but the thing is, I also want to talk about who makes the coordinator decisions. It is the head coach. He decided to go with these guys, and they don't perform. And I don't know what else to say about that. Mike Tomlin, what is he even known as? An offensive guy, a defensive guy? What is he? He has no cornerstone to him. He's just literally known as a player's coach.
Right, yeah.
That's his whole thing. And if you're a player's coach, you want to get players. You're not getting players. That's my whole problem with Mike Tomlin.
And they just traded away Minka Fitzpatrick, Jonnu Smith to the Dolphins. They just got back Jalen Ramsey.
So that literally right there screams players coach, because why? He probably thinks Jalen Ramsey will bring a nice culture to his locker room. That's what he cares about. And that's not going to result in wins.
Right.
That's why you're not going to be the best in your division. You're going to probably get another winning record. And that's just what Mike Tomlin does. I think he just does enough to keep his job. And that used to happen back then in the Bengals when they had Marvin Lewis. I think literally Mike Tomlin and Marvin Lewis are similar, but obviously Mike Tomlin had better teams where it won Super Bowls. But when was the last time they won a Super Bowl? Ben
years.
Roethlisberger was still relevant at that time. So that's my quick take on Mike Tomlin. And we can move on from the Steelers because we'll see what they have in store. They're trying to get Rodgers pieces together. They're saying Rodgers might be his last year. We don't know. Like I said, Rodgers has been a mystery. Ever since he left the freaking Packers, he's been a mystery. We don't know what's wrong with him.
That's a walking episode of X-Files, basically.
That's literally what he is. And let's quickly touch on our expectations for the Patriots and Jets. So I'll let you start with the Jets first.
All right, so obviously Aaron Rodgers is gone. There's nothing we can do about it. We brought in Justin Fields, who I think the Jets should have freaking drafted over Zach Wilson. But, like I said, I don't make decisions for the team.
We love the MILF Hunter.
Zach Wilson was a failure. We failed him. I think he had the potential. It's just the coaching staff was retarded, and they need to put that aspect of things away. You know, we got a new regime in. We hired a new GM. We hired a new coach. Aaron Glenn, this guy, I'm liking what he's been saying. Hopefully he can back his talk.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, with the Jets is going to be, their defense really collapsed ever since they fired Robert Saleh. Like, the offense became really good somehow, but the defense...
That defense going into the last two seasons, everyone's going to say, this could be the greatest defense ever.
Yeah.
Look at it. They fell off.
All
of them.
In my opinion, I think they just stopped giving a fuck, to be honest with you. Like,
Sauce Gardner doesn't look like he cares anymore. No. He cares more about Ice Spice than he cares about his damn defense.
But yeah, my expectations for them this year is we quiet out, we drown out the noise, so to speak. There's nothing that's been going on. We don't hear on Get Up This Morning or on First Take or any of these First Things First.
Which might be a good thing.
Which is a great thing because you quiet out that noise. You focus on the team. You build it. I'm excited to see what Tanner Engstrand, the new offensive coordinator, brings to the team. I understand that Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jermaine Johnson, Sauce Gardner, they all want to get the bag, and rightfully so because they're really great players. It's just the team over the last few years has failed them, and I'm hoping that this new regime, this new coaching staff brings some light to the team. Hopefully they make Justin Fields a little better than what he was supposed to be because I still have high expectations for Justin Fields. He has the mobility. That's something that Rodgers didn't really have. The only thing that he needs to work on is his passing game, and I'm hoping that if Tanner Engstrand really works with him, we could be a solid, maybe realistically a 10-win season, 10-win, 10-11-win season, to be honest. So if the defense plays right, I don't see why we shouldn't.
Right. And so what's your record you think the Jets are going to finish with? They do have a kind of difficult schedule.
Okay, worst case scenario, 5-12.
So you don't even think they're making playoffs?
That's the worst case scenario.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go with my best case scenario, which is 11-6. I don't think they're going to win the division because Buffalo Bills are still there. If whatever happens with the Miami Dolphins, obviously, or Patriots, which I know you're going to touch on in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But realistically, if we can go 11-6, we can make the playoffs. I think this will be a successful season. To start off with year one with Justin Fields, who we should have had originally, 11-6 sounds like the right bet, in my opinion.
I want to quickly touch on the Patriots because Patriots have just been doing a lot of noise this offseason. They've been signing guys that the Patriots haven't even been signing in years.
Yeah.
So I'm a little skeptical on Stephon Diggs. I think over the last few years he definitely had a drop off, but they paid him number one wide receiver money. And
he is their number one right now.
He is our number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
If we're able to get Stephon Diggs on the right track with Mike Vrabel coaching, with bringing back our Josh McDaniels, who went to go try a new venture, did not work for him. Stick to what you know best. You're an offensive coordinator. You're not a leader of the team. You do what you do, and you lead only their offense.
And their defense is going to be really solid.
And our defense is going to be really good.
One of the best young cornerbacks in the league.
We got Christian Gonzalez, who is a defensive machine. He's a ball hawk.
Wow.
Simple as that. He's a ball hawk. We got a great defensive players on the end. We got a great middle linebacker crew with the new guys coming in. And when it comes to the offense, we got Drake May. It lives or dies by Drake May. Drake May, he's a young quarterback. We get that.
It's going to be growing pains for sure.
It's going to be growing pains, but for sure with Drake May, there's so much promise and upside that we saw at the end of the year. Drake May was getting better every game. He's starting to become sharper with his skills, with his passing game, when to run for the first down. We actually have a quarterback with legs. We haven't had that in probably 15 plus years.
Not even 15 years. Over the last 20 years. Brady wasn't really mobile.
And then we went on to Mac Jones, and I don't even want to get on Mac Jones.
Mac Jones and Zach Wilson, those guys were the biggest busts in the history of the NFL.
I don't even want to touch on those guys right now, but Drake May, very excited for him. For my prediction, what I think on the worst case scenario, we go maybe 9.
Go with the same with the 9.
I think they get 9 wins.
Interesting. Okay.
And on the best case scenario, I think we go 12-5.
12-5. Okay.
Because we have winnable games. We're playing a few strong teams, but a lot of those games are winnable with our core, with our coaching,
and the defense too.
And our defense is gonna try to be our guys to keep them up.
Don't be surprised if both of our teams upset the Buffalo Bills at least once this year. I don't know about twice. I think it's going to be tough to win in Buffalo. But at home, if we're going to play for that pride, watch out, Buffalo Bills. Just watch out. What's your early Super Bowl prediction? We'll gather it as we go on. But
so early Super Bowl predictions.
I got mine. You wait till you hear mine.
I think this is the year Buffalo gets over the hump. I think it's going to be Buffalo, and I think it's going to be the Green Bay Packers.
What? Interesting.
Yeah. I think we're going to have a classic Buffalo versus Green Bay Super Bowl. I think we had that a few years, like a long time ago.
The Super Bowl's in Santa Clara this year, right?
I believe it's in Santa Clara. I'm not sure. Okay. But yeah, I think we're going to get two old teams. The history dates back a long time ago with great players on both sides. I think we're going to get a Buffalo team against a Green Bay team because Green Bay's been slightly making noise. Green Bay's been getting better, and I think Buffalo is Buffalo. Buffalo's is arguably
if Josh Allen goes, the team goes.
Yeah, and I think honestly, the Buffalo Bills probably win the Super Bowl.
Interesting.
That's what I think it's going to be.
I got you. I didn't think about that. Green Bay, I'm a little questionable about. Buffalo, I see, but my Super Bowl prediction this year, if they fix up their defense, it's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals and the Los Angeles Rams. A rematch of the 2022 Super Bowl.
Why do you say the Rams? Because lost Cooper Kupp.
They got Devontae Adams. What you mean?
Devontae Adams he looked okay with the Jets.
But it's the Jets. Let's be realistic here. You have one of the best offensive mind coaches in Sean McVay. Their defense vastly improved. They could have beat the Eagles if it wasn't for the goddamn snow.
Stafford is getting older, though.
Stafford is getting older, but if he's upright, I see them making some noise. I see them dethroning the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Detroit Lions are going to take a step back, especially losing Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn.
Yeah.
But let's see. If their defense is healthy, the Detroit Lions could surprise some people. And the only other option that I see in the AFC is obviously Buffalo. And also Baltimore, if Lamar Jackson... I think the team failed Lamar Jackson. Let's just say that. Because...
Mark Andrews failed Lamar Jackson. And I love Mark Andrews.
He's a great player.
And I felt bad.
He doesn't deserve the hate that he
felt bad.
It's crazy. But yeah, I think it's going to be a rematch of 2022. It's going to be Cincinnati Bengals and the Los Angeles Rams.
Obviously, we cannot count out Patrick Mahomes.
As long as Mahomes, number 15, is on the field, the Chiefs are Super Bowl contenders. Regardless of whoever's on that team, Patrick Mahomes is on the field, they're always instant Super Bowl contenders. And Andy Reid.
And it's kind of disrespectful. We just glossed over the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles, they had a great team.
They had such a solid Barkley team. Is perhaps the best running back of our generation. The Giants failed him.
Oh, yeah.
But if you put, which he had a outstanding offensive line.
Yeah.
Put up almost 2,000 yards.
And people thought they were going to take a step back with Jason Kelce gone.
Yeah.
They stepped up.
They got my man Mekhi Becton to win the material.
Mekhi Becton literally became an all-pro player after leaving the Jets.
It's crazy.
Like, make that make sense. You already know alone that's ownership and coaching right there.
That should definitely tell you a lot about the ownership and coaching.
All right, but that's it for the NFL. We'll get more into it the more we go on with the weeks coming, but that's our side, and that's basically our summary in sports and week this week.
We're transitioning now into wrestling because that's the second half of our podcast.
And let's pretty much quickly touch on what the most previous live event was, which was Night of Champions, which was in Riyadh, and it was Saturday. So let's quickly touch on the match orders, and we'll quickly touch on what exactly the matches happened and what we thought of the match. So, opening match.
I actually missed the first couple of matches because I was working, but that's neither here nor there.
So I got the whole match of this. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton. This is the first time that they're facing off in 12 years. They are both completely different performers. Cody Rhodes went on to become, obviously we know he went to AEW, started AEW, was one of the founders. Everyone knew where his heart was at, which is back at being a star in WWE. Cody Rhodes went through this whole phase, came back to WWE. We all know what the story is. He finished his story with Roman Reigns. That's a whole little saga on its own. But we want to just touch on this match alone. So when it comes to Cody was actually playing a little bit of a heel role in this match, where he was purposely attacking Randy Orton's back, where it's just trying to do things to win that match. And as it should be, you're Night of Champions. You're trying to win King of the Ring. You're trying to get that main event spot at SummerSlam.
Do you think this is going to be a change in Cody moving forward?
I don't know. We'll see. But I definitely saw the match was great. We had a few kickouts of the RKO. We had a kick out of Crossroads. And then basically we had a classic Randy Orton match where, all right, they wanted a hit where Randy was going to kind of cheat to win, but not really cheat to win by getting the turnbuckle open, and then Cody reversed it. Basically, the way was Cody did whatever he did to win that match. However, when the match ended, Randy Orton had a look on his face where we haven't seen since 2009. And we all know how sinister that Randy Orton was.
2009 Randy Orton is an Avengers level threat. Let's just say that.
So we all know, I think we can definitely say that Randy Orton heel turn is incoming.
And think a Cody heel turn is incoming.
That's also incoming. We don't know how it's going to play out. I think
it's up to Triple H.
It's up to Triple H. He knows what he's doing. And overall, I think that was a solid heavyweight match. That was a great beginning match for them. We know they're going to have a lot more.
He's King of the Ring now.
He is King of the Ring.
John Cena at SummerSlam.
And it looks like he's most likely definitely going to challenge John Cena. And overall, great match. And we know there's more to come for that. So let's step into the next match, which was Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez. So I'll let you touch on that.
I actually was.
Oh, you didn't even get to see that?
I didn't watch the first 3 episodes because I was working, unfortunately.
So I want to touch on that match real quick. It was actually a decent match. They were moving pretty fast, and obviously they're best friends in real life. When people are best friends in real life, they're actually work so good together. We all know that with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Yep. We know that with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. Like these guys that are best friends, they put on good matches. And these girls, they put on a good match. It was a fast-paced match. It was hard-hitting. They had some good spots. And then one thing I did not like, though, I hated, was the stupid table spot that they were doing. So I don't know if you saw this, but they had a table propped up on top of the ring.
2 tables?
No, it was just one table on top of the turnbuckle, and they were trying to balance each other.
Yeah.
And Rhea was trying to do a riptide off the top of the table. It was so unnecessary. She could have just done a top rope riptide and call it a day. But it looks so goofy because the ref is holding onto the table and just sees like Rhea Ripley just like trying to position herself so they don't fall and bust her ass. That's the only thing I hated about that part. Is just I hope that doesn't happen again. Like that's just a badly executed spot. And overall, good match.
Rhea Ripley won, right?
Rhea Ripley won that match, and obviously, as she should, she's the bigger star.
Yeah.
They probably have something nice planned for her at SummerSlam. So that's why Rhea Ripley won that match. It's simple as that. Raquel Rodriguez, she's in a tag team. She doesn't have her tag team partner.
Yeah, she's going to have to release.
Liv Morgan's going to be out for a long time.
But they could do Raquel and Roxanne. 2R.
Most likely, that's going to be the status going forward. But next, we want to quickly go into
Sami and Karrion Kross.
Saudi Arabia's favorite kid. Yeah. Sami Zayn versus Karrion Kross. We all know Karrion Kross has been a fan favorite for the last few months. He's been gaining a lot of fan recognition. You can see whenever he comes on the camera, fans get excited. And it was good to see Karrion Kross finally back on TV. He hasn't had a PLE match in 3 years.
Damn.
So it was great to see him back on TV versus Sami Zayn. It's Sami Zayn in Saudi Arabia. Everybody loves Sami Zayn. But it was a decent match as well. It was a quick back and forth match. I did like how it was great seeing Karrion Kross's old entrance from NXT. When he was coming out in NXT, he had that nice little aura about him, very dark and mysterious. It was good to see that back on TV. And simple as that, it was a nice little heel versus babyface match. And it just ended with Sammy winning with the haluva kick. Solid match. Maybe it was like a few minutes, but other than that, that might be the end for them. I don't know if they're going to be planning on doing more, but we'll see how Raw and the coming weeks plays out. And next, let's get into Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa.
This is where I started watching. Now here's the thing, I love Solo Sikoa. He's a clown. Let's just simply put, he's a freaking clown. He definitely is feeding off of like a Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso type of persona where he's unserious and then serious at the same time, which is good for him because when he was part of the Bloodline, he wasn't really a good speaker. He was like fudging up when it comes to promos. So I'm glad that he's getting some recognition in that standpoint. Yeah. Jacob Fatu, this guy, yo.
That dude.
He's a monster.
So what we like to call him is an absolute specimen.
Crazy. He has the agile, he has the strength, he has the character, he has the promo skills. He's going to be a pretty big star in WWE for a long time.
Yeah, and the story of Jacob Fatu, he's been
from the streets.
Right, he's been in the indie scene for a while. Mm-hmm. And he took to this not too long ago. He had his problems on the streets, got out of jail, changed his life around, and decided, let me follow this family business. This is what I might be good at. And when he was in the indies, he was doing a great job. Obviously gained recognition because he does have that connection with the Fatu name. But they finally got him on TV, and ever since he's been on TV, he's been a star.
He's been a fan favorite, too.
He's been a fan favorite ever since he's been on TV. And I love how WWE's been handling Jacob Fatu's character, and he's just only going to get better and better. This was a match where we had a lot of returns.
Yeah, Tangaloa return.
We had Tangaloa return, who is... No, that's Tama Tonga. We had Tangaloa.
Wrong Tonga.
Tangaloa is the walking meme. That's what he is.
That guy is
But I'm happy just to see him back and see what he's going to fuck up next. I know that's fucked up to say, but I like Tangaloa. He's been in Guerrillas of Destiny and New Japan Pro Wrestling. He was a great tag team wrestler there. But in WWE, it's just not working out in that sense. But he's in the bloodline.
Primo and Epico, wasn't he Epico?
No.
That was different.
That's a different crew. That's a different crew.
The main thing that we want to talk about in this fight was the debut of this monstrosity. Now that guy is another definition of a specimen.
That dude is 6'7", he is probably eye level with Drew McIntyre. He is going at so he's known as in the indie scene and around the wrestling world as Hikuleo.
Are they gonna call him a Talitanga?
But now it looks like the WWE decided we're gonna call him Talatanga.
Oh, Talatanga, right?
Yeah. Or Talatanga. I don't know how they're going to call him, but I think it's going to be Talatanga. It just sounds better. Sounds more Samoan.
These announcers are going to be like, they're going to
butchering these names.
You got Tamatanga, you got Tangaloa, now you got Talatanga.
Right.
Too much Tongans over here.
Right. And pretty much with those two interferences, it led to Solo picking up the championship, which makes sense.
What do you think is next for that group of?
I think it makes sense. So now it's going to be the new Bloodline. So the Bloodline was struggling in the last few months. It was only literally two people. It was Solo. And it was JC Mateo. Yeah. So now, all of a sudden, revamp. Total of 5 members now. And we got Jacob Fatu. Who knows? He might be bringing in Jimmy Uso. Most likely, that's what we've been seeing on TV. And who knows if Jay's doing anything? They might bring in Jay back into this. Maybe a Jacob, Jim, and the Usos reunion versus the new Bloodline. Mm-hmm. But we'll see how that plays out. I think, obviously, these two Bloodline stories, they're going to just keep going until they just stop. I think they can honestly keep going as long as they want with the amount of Samoans that they have lined up.
It's like the whole family can come in and just they can incorporate so much stuff to it. It's insane.
Right. And I want to hop into next was Jade Cargill versus Asuka. Okay, this was a bad match.
Let me tell you something.
This was a bad
match.
I
texted Fayaz. I'm like, yo, I think this match is going to steal the show. Boy, somebody should give me a slap across the face because this match, it was the Queen of the Ring match. Yeah. You know. Jade Cargill did end up winning. Good for her. I don't know who she's going to try. Maybe Tiffany Stratton.
Maybe Tiffany.
But it was just power versus technicality because Jade Cargill is known for that power. Asuka is known more for that technical aspect to her wrestling capabilities. You know, it was a short, quick-paced match. Like I said, Jade Cargill did end up winning. But I think Jade Cargill got injured, a little
I'm not sure. Maybe she was playing it off. It looked like she tweaked her knee when she was going for the pinfall after her finisher. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, it was just a simple match. I just think that was the worst part of the match. Not to say it was terrible, but Jade Cargill can definitely do better. And we all know Asuka can do better.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. And Jade Cargill, she's going to go to SummerSlam. We'll see if it's B. Stratton. We'll see if it's Naomi, if she cashes in by then.
Yep.
But that's on that story. And now let's get to the main event.
Main juice. CM Punk and John Cena. Oh my God. We're so nostalgic for obviously me and him. We obviously watched them in 2010, 2011, 2012, 13, that whole beginning of the 2010s. It was CM Punk and Cena.
Right. When it comes to CM Punk and John Cena, back then, two polar opposites. CM Punk, the rebel, the straight edge guy, didn't want to follow authority. John Cena, picture perfect authority guy, wants to do whatever the best for the company.
The guy. Yeah.
That's why they just click so well together. Yeah. And I know there's hate around John Cena and his match capability and the way he works in the ring. John Cena does what he knows to do best, which is he knows how to work the crowd, and that's, to me, that makes a great wrestler. So I never want to hear people calling him he can't wrestle. Yeah. It's obviously not true because we all know he can wrestle. He has put on 4 or 5 star matches.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously it depends on who's he in the ring with.
Right.
And CM Punk, he is probably one of the best in this last generation.
Right.
CM Punk has it all. We all know that. We all know the story of CM Punk. But when it comes to this match, it was great to see them back together in the ring, probably their one final time.
Mm-hmm.
These guys haven't had their match since 2012 because obviously CM Punk took a hiatus, and then he went back to AEW, and then AEW fell out, that fall through, came back to WWE, and Punk's been great since he's been back to WWE. He's been playing his role right. But when it came to this storyline with the new Cena heel turn, it kind of, the roles were reversed.
Yep, exactly.
Now Punk is the company face guy, where he's doing these press tours, he's talking to the fans. We're going to touch on his apology that he did to Saudi Arabia. We all know about the tweet he did years ago where basically saying all these WWE people that are going to Saudi Arabia are sellouts and they're all going for the money. But now he works for them. Obviously, maybe he still might feel the same way. Who knows? But you're a company guy now. And you're going to do what's best for business. And for best for business, it was to apologize to the crowd. Instantly became fan favorite as soon as he did that. But when it came to this match,
there was so much things happened.
It was so much.
It was like WWE Endgame again, with like how Cody and Roman back in WrestleMania.
I would call it the Diet Coke version of Endgame. That's what I'm gonna call it.
I agree.
But obviously, these guys, they have great chemistry. They hit their greatest hits moments, the moves, everything. John Cena hit 3 attitude adjustments. CM Punk kicked out all of them.
CM Punk hit a lot of GTSs. Cena kicked out of him. The one thing that Cena, obviously, his new shtick right now is grabbing the title and trying to. But CM Punk eventually, I guess, realized that he can't keep getting away with this. And
well, I want to touch on that real quick because Cena did grab the title, but he had a little self-doubt. And that was kind of the inklings of turning him back to babyface.
Right.
So that's why he put the title away, and then we had basically the Seth Rollins cash-in.
Oh, yeah. So basically what happened was CM Punk... No, all the refs got taken out.
Well, yeah, the ref got taken out, and we knew...
Charles Robinson.
So
that was the people.
Charles Robinson.
Oh, my God.
He's been in this company for so long. I don't think I've ever seen him get knocked the hell out like that. And he's old now.
Yeah.
He didn't do this to him back then.
Yeah.
What is he doing running to the ring with John Cena shoulder tackling him so hard like he passed away?
Crazy. So basically Seth Rollins came out when CM Punk was calling for another ref to come in because he had John Cena beat. But instead Seth Rollins came out with Paul Heyman, Bronson Reed, and Braun Breaker. But ultimately, I know that Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, they got into the ring first. They attacked CM Punk.
Right.
CM Punk did his best to, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Retaliate and try to take him out. But obviously, there's a lot more manpower in the ring.
And then obviously, they had 2 heels in the ring, John Cena and Rollins. But John Cena, obviously, you want to protect your title. Right. So he's going to attack Rollins. Yep. He's trying to cash in on him. And that's what happened. Then we had all the other guys. We had Penta. We had Sami Zayn. Take out these guys. And then pretty much Cena had a huge spot at the end where he powered Bronson Reed. And that, come on, John Cena still got it. If you're lifting Bronson Reed, and we know Bronson Reed, he looked like he lost a little bit of weight too.
But he's still huge.
He's a massive man. And
John
Cena powered him up again. That's what he always does. He just gets these guys up for these strong attitude adjustments. And he delivered a strong attitude adjustment. And then when we get to the point where it was back to Punk and Cena face-to-face, we had a scene where
Cena and Punk would try to show mutual respect for each other, but obviously John Cena did the same shit that he did in the Elimination Chamber. Looked into the camera with that sly-looking face,
What a face.
And then But CM Punk was smart enough. He caught the kick.
Yeah.
And then tried to do a GTS, but then Seth Rollins came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Hit him with the briefcase, curb stomped him. Then John Cena threw out Seth Rollins over the ring and then cashed in for the win, basically.
Right.
So in hindsight, Seth Rollins cost CM Punk another title shot. And I don't know when that feud is going to end. But
yeah,
it's looking really bad.
That feud has been going on ever since Punk returned.
Yep.
And I'm starting to get a little not annoyed but fatigued from that feud. I
am too.
It's time to move on from that. And hopefully in SummerSlam, I don't know if they're going to run this match back again. I hope not. But we'll see how it plays out. But also I want to touch on is John Cena's heel turn since becoming heel. He hasn't had great matches. They've been pretty lackluster. The WrestleMania match was really lackluster. It definitely did not live up to the match.
I would say all of his matches ever since he's doing his retirement tour hasn't really fulfilled that potential that we know he has.
Exactly. And this is a big thing. This is John Cena becoming a heel again.
Yeah.
People would have never thought this happened.
His concept of ruining wrestling.
Right. And I don't know how I feel about that concept still, but let's see how it plays out. There's still a lot of potential to go with this. And this was his best match. This was definitely his best match. He had a great match the last pay-per-view with Randy Orton. Mm-hmm. That was a good match as well. It was good to see those guys get back at it again. But this was definitely his best match, and that's because simply CM Punk and John Cena, they just have great chemistry together. And they always will. And I think that's John Cena's greatest rival is CM Punk.
I think so. It was between him and Randy Orton. And
also Edge. You could throw Edge in there. But I think it's definitely Punk. After this match, too, they have a lot of great matches, and it just adds on to that upper echelon of these two guys together being built together forever.
It's unfortunate that we didn't get that storybook ending based off of Seth Rollins, coming in and interfering,
But it is what it is, and let's see how this week plays out. We got Raw
Monday Night Raw, yep.
We have SmackDown coming out.
We got Saturday Night main event.
We also have Saturday Night's main event in I think it's next weekend.
Not this week, the following. No, it's this week. No, the following weekend.
The following weekend.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it plays out, and
we'll touch on Saturday Night's main event as we get along.
Exactly, and when it comes to the WWE landscape in general, what I want to quickly touch on is.
Let me say, I don't want to cut you off, but I think TKO needs to take a step back. I feel like they haven't really gave the potential that we once was accustomed to seeing ever since they stepped in. And I feel like the matches haven't really been great. The storylines haven't been really great. Maybe now with SummerSlam coming up that they will take a step back. There's a lot of interesting storylines coming up. And I feel like if ultimately they gave Triple H full control, we know how he is as a booker, and he deserves that opportunity to make SummerSlam great, especially if it's in our home. I don't want to say state because MetLife Stadium is not in New York, but in our home region, we deserve
a great show.
Not even a great show, an excellent show, especially with it just being a 2-night event.
First SummerSlam, that's a 2-night event, so you gotta pack it.
Yep, we need a great SummerSlam to, I guess, ultimately.
At the end of the day, I'm not worried because WWE knows what they're doing. Yeah, they're gonna end up getting us involved and interested no matter what. But the thing is, there's so many potential to go with this. We do have now an official Cody Rhodes John Cena rematch. Who knows if there's going to be outside influences in that? We know fucking Travis Scott and The Rock are lurking somewhere. Even though The Rock we haven't seen since Elimination Chamber.
I don't think he's going to be involved.
But Travis Scott, you never know. That's the thing with this John Cena heel turn. And we're excited to see how it plays out. We have a lot of few things coming up in WWE's.
A lot of things to talk about eventually.
Yeah. We're getting to the end of the show, and like I said originally in the beginning of the show, we're going to try to hit our best things and best takes or whatever moments we saw that was our favorite thing we saw this week. And I'll let Farden go with his favorite thing that he saw this week.
All right, so the most favorite thing that I saw this week was one of my favorite baseball players in the league, which is Ketel Marte. He plays for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's a second baseman. I have him in my fantasy league. Thank you, Ketel. I love you, my man. But the thing that I want to touch on is what he endured the last week or so is that a fan commented on his mother's passing. It was a great thing that Major League Baseball banned that fan for life. We don't need that type of heckling. Right. Obviously, we'll talk shit about athletes or anything like that, but we keep the family aspect of things.
No family, no kids, no wife, nothing.
It's just on the field, on the court, on the ice. Yeah. That's it. whatever happens on those terms is one thing, but family drama, we don't need that kind of stuff. So now I'm going to turn it to Faz. He has his take.
So for me, my favorite thing that I saw this week is, I know this sounds messed up, but Justin Tucker. We know what happened with Justin Tucker, and Justin Tucker is probably considered one of the greatest kickers of all time, based on his production, his percentages, whatever it is. But whatever happened with him in his sexual misconduct allegations, we don't do that. And when it comes to Deshaun Watson is another example where he got penalized for it. But just because Justin Tucker is one of the greatest kickers of all time, that doesn't mean he's not subject to that same fault.
No.
And I'm happy to see that the NFL actually took action, because I don't know, and I'm not sure if the Baltimore Ravens were going to do anything about it. I don't think so. And I'm glad that the NFL stepped in and was like, okay, we got to give him a suspension. I believe they suspended him for 10 games.
10 games, yep.
So I hope that makes him, I don't know if that's going to, for people like that, I don't know if it's going to make them learn their lesson. But I'm just glad to see that the NFL is doing things to make sure and mitigate situations like that. So that was my favorite thing that I saw this week. And now we're getting to the end of our episode. So right now to the end of the episode.
We'll look ahead to next week.
Right, we'll look ahead to next week. So we do have Raw coming up. When it comes to terms of pro wrestling, we have Raw coming up. We have SmackDown coming up.
A lot of baseball, a lot of maybe possible NBA talks, trade talks, whatever. And free agent signings,
right.
Free agents starting, I think, tomorrow, I think.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And then also we have, quickly back to pro wrestling, we do have AEW coming up. Yeah. So I quickly want to touch on AEW sometimes on the show, because I want to hit on their main shows. So AEW has All In coming out, which is basically their WrestleMania. It's going to be a big show. There's going to be a lot of great matches on that show.
Where is it?
It's at...
AT&T Stadium, right?
I don't think it's an AT&T Stadium, but it's in Arlington, Texas.
Okay.
It's like a stadium that can fit like 20,000 or something like that.
Like the soccer stadium, probably.
Yeah, probably. Okay. But they do have a big show coming up there, so we're going to try to touch on that. AEW is also going to be the same night as Saturday night's main event. So it's going to be very head-to-head, but we'll see how it goes. We'll talk about all of it. And yeah, that's basically the first episode of this podcast. We want to welcome you guys to this, enjoy this ride on the P&P podcast. And pretty much what the idea is, like I said, we're going to try to do push these out every week, and we'll come along for us on this journey.
It's going to be a pleasure. Well, we hope you guys tune in. It's going to be a fun time. Let's see how it goes.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you guys next week.